Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Democrats don't understand the debt ceiling. Republicans don't seem to understand the debt ceiling either. Liberals don't understand the debt ceiling. No one understands the debt ceiling. So allow me to explain. Let's say you come home from work and find there has been a sewer backup in your neighborhood. Your home has sewage all the way up to your ceiling. What do you think you should do? Raise the ceiling or pump out the sewage? Well, you have that choice tomorrow. Go vote. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Morning on a Monday. Good morning on a Monday, a busy Monday, too. The last day before the election tomorrow. Go vote. I'm Zeb Bell. Good morning at Zeb at the Ranch. And don't forget our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. And our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Call Kelly, 734-6969. Good morning to the lovely Gina Jameson.
Well, good morning, sunshine. Did you have a wonderful weekend?
I did. Kind of a letdown to some extent, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. And also, how did Wonder Woman do trick-or-treating?
Wonder Woman and the Ninja did really, really well trick-or-treating on Friday evening, and we had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'll bet you did. Yes,
we did. And we did the trunk-or-treat, and then down at the square in Rupert, and then we walked over to his school, and then the church right across the street, and then we went on all of the side streets on the way home, and then we waited for James to arrive, and then we hit a couple more houses, and then we were done.
Oh, man, I'll tell you what. That a girl, Mom. Yeah. I'm proud of you. Way to go.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it was fun.
Do we have a pledger?
We have Mr. Al on for the pledge and Michael Rogers on for the weather.
Very good. Al, the pledge, please, if you would.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Al, thank you so much. I appreciate it, and thanks for being at Lunch Bunch as always. Appreciate you.
Yeah, I loved my Halloween kids this year. Man, I had a bunch of them.
Well, you just are a crusty old guy that has a heart as big as Texas. Thank you so much.
Yeah, okay.
All right, buddy. Thank you. Hey, let's go right now. It's time for the weather, brought to everybody by Cheney Flooring and Home Design. 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. Oh, my goodness, they got lots and lots and lots of repurposed furniture. Yes, they do, and they've got all your decorations in there for Christmas, too. And they will meet or beat any price on flooring. Why don't you please stop in and see these wonderful people today at Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door or call 678-6945. Here now, Michael Rogers weather.
2 more weeks before Zeb Bell will ask me the $1 million question. When's it going to snow? You got a boring week as far as the weather, but it's nice. I mean, nothing's going to be happening. No major storms. Nothing to really write home to Grandma about. Got a nice day today. A little bit cooler on the temperature side. Going to struggle to get to 49, 50. Overnight low will be about 32. Cloud up tomorrow, and then it'll skedaddle out of there, and you'll have nice weather all the way up into the weekend. And then the temperatures will start to warm back up. We'll see comes in the low 60s. So, this much I can tell you officially. No snow in the forecast this week. No snow in the forecast next week, but by the time Zeb asked me about it, we might see some. We might see some snow before Christmas. Right now, enjoy the weather. The only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. Excellent weather forecast brought to everybody by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. Oh, that's right, Cheney Flooring and Home Design. Wow, we got a lot of things to talk about today, a lot of things going down, and we've got to remind you, too, that coming up November 20th, don't forget the Pilgrim Pride Thanksgiving dinner at 5 p.m. at the Golden Heritage Senior Center. We'll be telling you a lot more about that as we go along. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Restore those items. Don't just throw them away. Restore them. Take them in and let Kevin take a look at it and say, I can do that. I tell you what, this is the best cleaners in the universe at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. All your rumply crumplies will come back brand spanking new. Daryl's Cleaners in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Also, want to remind everybody about our friends at SafeLink Internet. Oh my goodness, Idaho's #1 choice for wireless high-speed internet and the fastest internet speeds, period. Absolutely. Call them. Get on one of their programs, 677-8000. 677-8000. No credit checks, unlimited data, SafeLink Internet Services. We've been on the program for a long time. You should be too. SafeLink, the very, very best. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. We had Lunch Bunch last Thursday, and I just want to say thank you very, very much to Denny's and Thomas and Terry, Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley. And it was all decorated up for Halloween. And we had a lot of the folks show up with costumes and masks on, and there were some really great costumes. I mean, I don't want to pick out one in particular, but they were all great, and the masks and everything. Thank you for your support. It was really, really great. And also, thanks to Lorna Arbogast for that special gift. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. Really nice people. Senator Dean Cameron running unopposed for Senate District 27, and he wants to say how much he appreciates the citizens of Minidoka and Cassia County, and very grateful for your support. Senator Cameron, the Senate's chairman of the Budget Committee and senior member of the Resources Committee, and he wants to urge you to go vote tomorrow. Yes, go vote and vote yes on HJR2. We're going to be talking more about HJR2 today and tomorrow, so don't forget that. Vote yes. And he asks for your continued support, paid for by Senator Dean Cameron, District 27. All right, give us a jingle on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to talk a little bit about Sergeant Tahmooressi. Just before the election, he gets released. Come on. Really? What are your thoughts about this? Friday, all of a sudden, the Marine Sergeant Tahmooressi gets released. You know, it's fairly obvious that politics is being played here. It's fairly obvious when former governor of New Mexico, Bill Richardson, Democrat, furnishes the plane to go pick him up. It's fairly obvious before the election tomorrow, all the Democrats are pulling out the plug to make them look like Joe Good Guy. Really, come on. Released from a Mexican prison after 7 months, and odd that it happened just 3 days before the election. You're doggone right. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
I'm telling you that this shows you that our administration right now did not care about that soldier. They could have cared less if they'll turn 5 terrorists loose right now.
Al, let me ask you a question right there before you go too much further. I mean, Sergeant Tahmooressi was never addressed by President Obama. Not one single time.
And Kerry made, I think, one phone call, and that's all way back when. The one that deserves credit for getting him out of there is Retta Van Susteren and the two guys from California and one from Arizona.
I agree.
And all them signatures we sent in to get him released. It was nothing to do with this damn administration.
And did you hear what Governor Bill Richardson said this morning? It was so pathetic, I about kicked my television set. He gave credit to the Mexican government for being so understanding. And I looked at Deanne, and I looked at the TV, and I thought, you piece of phony baloney, how can you give credit to the Mexican government after they were the ones that basically incarcerated this young man, held him for no charges whatsoever, and this Democrat, Bill Richardson, uses the words credit to the Mexican government?
Well, he's Hispanic, so you know where he's going to go. I don't believe that phony baloney as far as I can throw him across the yard.
I was just absolutely incensed that this was a political ploy, like the pastor Abedini in Iran, which my heart goes out to that family every day.
Well, but I hope people that go to the polls tomorrow and vote, and they all think about what happened, about how the Democrats did not support Sargent at all. Hell no. All they was worried about your own hind ends getting back in office.
I couldn't agree more.
Go to the polls, vote, and kick this bunch of scum out.
I agree with you, Al. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I do. Hey, don't forget that over at Valleywide Home and Ranch, holy smokes, they're getting ready for a great big remote broadcast we're going to have over there on December 11th. Woohoo! It's going to be a ripping good one. And you better stop in and check out all the things you need for winter, like your propane, or maybe your feed for your animals, winter gloves, everything. Oh, they got a great selection of Ariat boots over there, too, for all the men and the women. And let me tell you, when it's getting ready for winter time, you better stop in and talk to the professionals that have everything for you, and that's Valleywide Home and Ranch. 910 South Oneida and Rupert. Just an excellent store. Grab a cup of coffee while you're over there and just kind of browse around the store at Valleywide Home and Ranch. Really nice people. When you mention nice people, you've got to also say thank you to our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, 678-0459, open 7:30 in the morning to 5:30 Monday through Friday. And, these cooler nights, I know, your toesies hit the floor this morning and whoa, a little chilly in here. Well, you better make sure your furnace has been serviced and ready to go for the winter and has new air filters, too. They've got all the best of air filters for your furnace over at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. All right, give us a call. What did you think? Did you not think that was a little bit more than a little dicey right there? All of a sudden, 3 days before the election, Tahmooressi gets released. And Obama never once had anything to do with this. He never applied any pressure to the Mexican government whatsoever, never got involved with any verbiage about this Marine. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Denny's Restaurant here real quick, and then I want to come back and talk to you about how toxic Obama really is. And I'm not making this story up either. We'll get to that in just a minute. Don't forget our friends at Denny's Restaurant. Oh, man, I tell you, I was in there the other day, and I love breakfast, as I told you. I love breakfast, and that's what I had for lunch bunch, was a wonderful breakfast, and you can stop in and have it. Oh, look at it. I'm looking at this picture of pumpkin pancakes and hash browns and bacon and eggs, and oh, it's so good. You're going to love it. Everything on the menu, breakfast, lunch, and or dinner at Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley, and on behalf of Lunch Bunch, we gave Thomas a beautiful plaque on behalf of the Lunch Bunchers. They really appreciate him. You will too. Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley. Really, really nice people. Obama was going to speak at the Philadelphia Auditorium, and there's roughly about, 12,000 seats in this auditorium. Now, what they did at the last minute, because they knew a lot of people were not going to show up, all right? So now, just picture this in your mind's eye if you haven't already seen the picture. It's on television, by the way. They cut the auditorium in half, all right, and hung a huge black curtain across the center of it, thinking that they would have a full house with the rest of the seats that were available, approximately 6,000 seats. Okay? Didn't work out that way. They were lucky to fill 25% of the seats. As a matter of fact, it was less than that. Obama is extremely toxic. Today, the day before the election, there are no appearances planned for the President of the United States, a Democrat, to speak on behalf of any of the Democrats. No, they don't want him. His policies and his ideology is absolutely failed after 6 years. And it shows in this picture. I'm looking at it right here. I got it on a piece of paper. And Gina and the rest of you can pull it up and look at it. I mean, it was just lucky to have 25% of the seats filled for the president, and nobody wants to hear him. Nobody wants to be associated with him. He is toxic. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Gina, my dear, I'd like to ask you, if you would please, to play Lieutenant Governor Brad Little and HJR2.
Hi, I'm Brad Little, and I'm running for Lieutenant Governor. Idahoans are some of the most innovative and hardest working people in the world. Let's help all Idahoans be job choosers, not job takers, for a better future.
Idaho is one of the best states to do business. With a strong system of education, we can attract more jobs in both traditional industries and new fields, like health, energy, manufacturing, and technology.
I'm Brad Little. Let's work together to build strong families, strong career choices, and a strong Idaho.
Hey, Little for Idaho, Tom Johnston, Treasurer.
I'm having problems with HDR2 here for a second. So
all righty, I'll tell you what, I'll just jump right in here and say that Senator Jim Patrick from District 25 absolutely wants your vote, and he says thank you to everybody that supported him, and he appreciates your support too, and he says please get out and vote tomorrow, November 4th, and let your voice be heard. Senator Jim Patrick has a deep understanding of all the ag issues and, of course, education issues. He wants to continue serving you for District 25 as Senator, paid for by Jim Patrick for Senator, District 25. And now, we'll see if Gina's got that spot all ready to go for HJR2.
Give me another 30 seconds.
That's not a problem. I can give you another minute if you'd like. As I've been telling everybody, we're going to have, this is the last day of all of our election campaign spots and our interviews and everything. We do have something special tomorrow at the early hour, but we're going to be talking quite a bit about different subjects from now on, including the Golden Heritage Senior Center. They're going to be having a first annual Pilgrim Pride Thanksgiving dinner on November 20th from 5 to 7 p.m., and it's only going to be $5 per ticket, and there's going to be door prizes and raffles and games and everything at Golden Heritage Senior Center in Burley. Now, let's check back with Gina.
I've got to load up a program first.
You and your computer are not having a good Monday, are you?
It's Monday.
It's Monday. Oh. Well, in that case, what I will do is tell everybody, this happens in live radio, I'll tell everybody about Barry Equipment and Rental. They've got all your rental equipment, whether you're buying or renting, for all the jobs you've got this fall. You got something that needs to be done, something that needs to be built, dirt that's got to be moved, whatever, it doesn't make any difference. They've got all the Coyote tractors, and they got all the Bobcat loaders, and they got all the big Doosan loaders, and they've got all the man lifts. They've literally got all the equipment that you could use over at Barry Equipment and Rental, as they serve you from 3 locations: Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and South Lincoln in Jerome, and of course 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. The best with Eli, Nick, the whole crew at Barry Equipment and Rental. Definitely serving you.
Okay, I think I got it.
Okay, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to wait till I hear the voice.
Okay, here we go.
Vote yes November 4th for HJR2, a constitutional amendment to keep the power of Idaho governance with the people. Vote yes on HJR2 to limit executive power over you and your business. Vote yes on HJR2 to keep your legislators working for your needs, not special interest groups. Vote yes on HJR2 to preserve the voice of we the people for the state of Idaho. Vote yes on HJR2. Paid for by Representative Fred Wood, House Speaker Scott Bedke, and Senator Dean Cameron. Vote yes on HJR2.
Don't you just love it, Gina, when things all come together like a well-oiled machine?
Well, thank you for giving me that extra minute 20 to get that loaded.
I gotta ask you, this new computer, it probably, the way things are going, it probably won't ever get a chance to be an old computer.
No, it won't if it keeps on acting like this. But, yeah.
I can imagine it when you push a button. You're sitting there and basically feeling the curious feeling of whether it'll play or not play.
Well, and I'm sitting here, I was clicking on it, and I'm like, nothing, and so I click on it again, and nothing, and I'm like frantically clicking on the mouse, and it's not doing anything, and I'm like, oh no. That's exactly what I have to do, so I have to load a program to load up the spot, to re-undate it, and it's just kind of a constant.
But we will maintain a smile throughout.
Only one more day.
One more day.
Only one more day.
Hey, can we please listen? I'm scared to ask. Can we please listen to the Capital Press Ag Minute?
You bet.
Thanks.
The Capital Press Ag Minute is brought to you by OnlyAg.com.
An Idaho farmer has stopped a planned 44-home subdivision from being built in the middle of 12 square miles of agricultural land by buying the 55-acre property for $550,000. A group of 6 farmers who lived adjacent to the proposed Lake Hazel Estates challenged the project in court and sought to overturn the Canyon County Commissioner's decision to extend a conditional use permit for the project. Their suit alleged they were never legally notified by mail of the February 2012 hearing where the permit was extended. The court declined to hear the case. With the group's options limited, Craig Lindquist and his wife Robin decided to buy the property, which will be reverted back to farm ground. This is Hannah Browse.
To receive instant, exclusive, unlimited access to the West Agricultural News Source, register your account today at CapitalPress.com.
I want to stress the fact that tomorrow is voting day. And, caller, I'll be right there, but there was a sample ballot for the various areas in the Times News the other day. And I'm always quick to criticize the Times News, but I want to be sure and tell everybody I'm also quick to give praise when it's necessary. And they had all the sample ballots in there. I hope many of you saw them and saved them and are studying them. Tomorrow is your great American right and privilege to get out and vote. Be sure and do so. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, and what's sad is how few people really participate in the process. They just, they really don't care. They all care about the social media, as long as they get their welfare checks or whatever. I mean, it's just, but I just want to make a comment. Nobody's not only talking about 22 inches of snow in Tennessee and record-breaking cold, earliest snow records back east, and they're still talking about global warming.
Yeah,
Just the hypocrisy is unbelievable.
And here's the other thing, too, Adrian, is that they came out with a story in USA Today last week, and they were saying, oh, my goodness, September was the warmest on record. Oh, we've got to stop this trend. Now, I took it upon myself to call some various state agencies. I called Washington, I called Oregon, I called back to Wisconsin, and I called also back into Indiana. And I found out that the temperatures in those states actually were below par for a normal median temperature. So where does this group, where do they get off lying like this? It was not the hottest September ever on record.
They just make it up. And and they make it up. Yeah, they just make it up. They just lie. I'll send you a good email. It's called Presidential Quotes. I just got this last night. I'll send a copy of it over to you. It's unbelievable, all these quotes from Obama and the lies, and so forth. But it's just incredible. And there was an article just recently in the state of Wyoming where they have the world's largest supply of coal and natural gas, and they just cut the ribbons on a natural gas power plant to supplement the wind, and they're shutting down 3 coal-fired plants, and the cost for a million BTUs of energy was 70 cents for the coal, and it's $4 for the natural gas.
Yeah, I know.
It's cheap. So it's 6 times as much. So, folks, if we don't stop the EPA, and Cradle had a letter in there, something about, restricting the EPA, we've got to stop the funding. As long as they get any kind of money, the EPA's got to go. And the only way they're going to stop is to stop the funding and stop their nonsense and their non-science.
I agree. Adrian, I got to run. I got a gazillion commercials, and I appreciate it. And we got another call waiting. Caller number 2, stand by. I'll be right there, I promise. Don't go away. Gina, if we could please hear a good word for Steve Hartkin and State Treasurer Ron Crane.
From City of Rocks to the Twin Falls County Fair, this Magic Valley of ours offers tremendous opportunity for Idaho citizens, but we have to work to keep it that way. Low taxes, limited government, responsible financial management. I'm Stephen Hartkin, Idaho House Republican, and I'm proud to represent your Idaho Republican values. I'm running for re-election this fall and ask for your vote on November 4th. I'm House Republican Stephen Hartkin, and I approve this message.
On Election Day, Idaho voters should choose a state treasurer with a 16-year record of success in helping improve the lives of Idahoans. Treasurer Ron Crane has nurtured and grown the tax-deductible Ideal College Savings Program, which thousands of Idaho families now use to continue their children's education. And nearly 25,000 Idaho women have gained saving and investing skills through Ron Crane's popular Smart Women, Smart Money training program. Vote Ron Crane for treasurer, experienced investing, protecting Idaho's taxpayers.
Pay Crane for Idaho State Treasurer.
All right, thank you very much and welcome back. Zeb at the Ranch. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir. Tony, go ahead.
Through the Depression years and through World War II, all the hard times, we managed to make this country the greatest country in the world. People would envy us about us here. Now, in the few short years that Obama's been in, he's managed to put this country into an economic slide that's slowly destroying the country. And the ones who are going to end up paying for it are the younger generation when they find out there's no jobs available for them, nowhere for them to go. Then what do they do?
Tony, I want to interrupt you right there because I've had many of the millennials on this program as of late, and one that comes to mind is a young man that graduated from USC Berkeley, of all places, a very liberal school, but he was the head of the Conservative Party on campus. And lately there's been a transition and a change with a lot of young people that are understanding the failed programs and ideology of Barack Hussein Obama and others. I'm starting to see a light at the end of the tunnel. Honestly, I think things are going to get better.
I hope so. I think it's going to get better because this younger generation is finally beginning to wake up.
I agree.
And
I agree.
They do. I hope tomorrow night is a landslide for the conservative people in this country.
I'm going to say this, and Tony, you can criticize me if you wish, but any vote for the left or a Democrat is in my opinion, wasted vote. Because voting for the Democrats and their platform is nothing more than support of what Obama's ideology is, and I absolutely don't want to see that.
Well, the Democratic Party today is what's keeping many people on welfare, and they just don't want to do anything other than collect that welfare check. And all it is votes for the Democratic Party.
I agree with you. Hey, it's good to hear from you, Tony. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, God bless. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While we're waiting for those calls to come in, which I know they will, I think we'll have this good word for Senator Jim Risch.
Mitt Romney on Jim Risch.
Jim Risch is a person who you can count on to help build jobs, to say no to the growth of government, to say no to the growth of taxes, to say yes to family values, and to stand up for the people of our nation and the state of Idaho. This is a man of integrity, honesty, and character.
Jim Risch is the person we can trust to fight for us in Washington. Jim Risch for the U.S. Senate.
Absolutely, all right.
I approve this message.
I did it again. I did it again. I interrupted that gentleman. I'm sorry. I'm not used to the tagline. Oh, my goodness, I should be after all this. Hey, re-elect Clark Kaufman as your District 25 representative for the legislature. Kaufman has served on the Revenue and Taxation Committee, Transportation and Defense Committee, and the Business Committee. He's honest, hardworking, and capable. Remember to vote tomorrow, Tuesday, November 4th, and exercise your constitutional right. Vote Kaufman, paid for by committee to elect Clark Kaufman for Idaho State Representative, District 25, Seat B. Debbie Kaufman, Treasurer. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. I had a call last night, and I didn't get enough information to know. Maybe you can help me. There is a bill in Congress now, something to do with health care, that Obama intends to tack last minute a gun control bill on. Do you know anything about that?
You know, I heard some rumors about that, and I would not say that I have all the paperwork right in front of me this morning. Honestly, I don't, Adrian, but I do know that this man absolutely wants to hide, shelter, or procure any means necessary for a stronger gun control for the next 2 years of his still staying in office, and it would not surprise me at all. That is one of the topics that I'll be calling and talking to a couple of people right after I get off the program, and especially tomorrow morning I've got a lady that you've heard before on my program. Her name, Dr. Elena George, and she has absolutely been the expert on Obamacare, and we'll ask her about that provision being in that bill.
Yeah, because I understand it is extreme enough to even confiscation possibility.
There were talks like, yes, I've talked to many people in the gun business, if you will, including members of the NRA in the office, and they're very concerned about what might be in that bill. But like I said, we will check on that tomorrow with Dr. Elena George.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I am very, very concerned about what's going to happen with... You know, Obama has nothing to ride his horse on. I'm serious, caller, I'll be right there. He has nothing to saddle up his horse. He has nothing to ride on for the next 2 years. Now, if the Senate goes over to the Republicans, which I think it's going to be a landslide, that's my own personal opinion, that this man with his pen and his phone could turn into the most insidious, the most treacherous president this country has ever had. Caller, stand by. I'll be right there. Don't forget Sophie's Chatterbox. I was there yesterday. And had breakfast with our dear friends, Dawn and Dave Zanino, and the Big A omelet is phenomenal. Oh boy, Dave talked me into it, said if you're hungry, try it. I did, it's great. Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street on the Square. You stop over, they have excellent food along with a great bakery of wedding cakes, cookie bars, homemade bread, delicious cinnamon rolls. All this and more at Sophie's Chatterbox on the Square in Rupert. Good morning, caller, you're on the air.
Yes, I've been a very conservative Republican all my life, but I never did vote a straight ticket. And there's a reason for that. I always pick my man. And right now there's a race that it's Secretary of Education. And Sherry Rivera and Dr. Jones. And I read in the paper where Rivera was 1 point ahead of Dr. Jones. Mm-hmm. Now, as far as qualifications, who has the best?
If you're asking me who has the best qualifications at this juncture, I'm not going to say because I really don't know. I know this, Fred. that I have a tendency to look at the person like you do. But I'm also very, very wary this year, more so than ever before, about voting anything to the left or left for Democrat involvement because of the ideologies of Obama, whether it dates back to education issues like Common Core or whatever. I'm very, very wary. So I'm going to use that.
Our governor adopted Common Core, though.
Not in its entirety, and that's one thing. I'll take issue on Common Core issues with anybody, and I'm in your corner, as a matter of fact, in agreeing with you that Common Core is not the best thing. I've listened to our dear friend Kyle Olson with EAGnews.org many, many times. The math problems and other problems with Common Core I cannot adhere to, and we're going to be doing some special programs on that.
I've got 2 granddaughters and a daughter that teach.
Absolutely.
School, and I can't adhere to it either. But I will not go to party line, and I'm definitely voting for Janet Jones.
Well, and there again, though, Fred, you've heard me say it on the program, and you and I are on the same page. I've said many times that I find that there are good Democrats or independents that are better qualified to run and have a certain office. And you and I agree on that. But I think you will agree with me also that right now, I think the American public needs to send a message clear and defined to the Democrats and supporters of Obama and his ideology that he's not welcome, we don't trust him, and he is a failed president.
Well, that's true, but nationally, yes. But I think in their state, where the education deal, I think we need to put somebody in there. We had Luna, he was a failure, a big failure, with 1, 2, and 3, and it was voted down. The governor was for it. They was all for it. They shoved it down their throats, and it was repealed big time. And let's get somebody in there that will battle these people.
I agree with you. And I always find myself coming around 360 and looking at you and your expertise on a lot of these subjects, and I agree to the extent that we need better involvement, better people, and it's not always on a straight ticket. Fred, I got to run and get the weather on. Thank you so much.
Buddy.
God bless you, man. Thanks. Caller, I'll be right there. I have to get the weather on real quick, and I want to talk to you and everybody else about Mad River Laser. Right now in stock, they got the winter hoodies. They're right now just $24, normally $38. Holy cow, what a savings. And all the buck knives are on sale, 10% off, with free engraving. And these are beautiful, beautiful knives. And they got the Carhartt jackets in there, and they're ready to embroider, and they got the wooden business cards. I've got those wooden business cards. They are fantastic. You're going to love everything they do at Mad River Laser, and they're located at 502 East Street in Rupert. Here now, Michael Rogers weather.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Monday. Michael Rogers is at the ranch. Welcome to November. About a couple of weeks, everybody's going to ask that world-famous question, when is it going to snow? Got a couple more weeks for that'll start. Where am I going with that? Well, because you got nice weather all week. How about that? Now, today it'll be a little bit cooler. You'll see a daytime high of about 49, struggle to get to 50. But it'll be a lot of sun and very little clouds. Cloudy tonight and sunny tomorrow. And then the temperatures start to warm up. As you work your way toward the end of the weekend, then you got a nice weekend. And then next week, not bad. And then the week when you're going to start to have some snow, I'm looking at that. Not that anything is coming, but I've been doing this for quite a while, and everybody has a pattern. And usually right around November, about just before you get Thanksgiving, that all-important question, are we going to get snow for Christmas? I'll let you know all about it. Enjoy the day, enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. Brought to everybody by Mad River Laser, 502 East Street in Rupert. Really nice people. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
About this gun control that you were just talking about just a little while ago about Obama tagging this onto a bill.
Yeah.
You know, when you take the guns away from the American people, how in the world are we going to be able to defend ourselves? We'll be just like those people in Iraq that they're slaughtering now. Those people have no arms.
Well, Keith, it's not just an Obama issue. I mean, there's others involved in this thing that are contributing literally millions and millions of dollars to take away our safety and security. One of them is former New York Mayor Bloomberg. I mean, this guy is a very, very wealthy individual, and he's put up millions of dollars to try to have every one of us stand out in the cold with no protection whatsoever. I am very concerned about what Obama is going to do and what he's going to tie into certain bills in the next 2 years of his presidency. And I urge everybody, I said this a week ago, and I hope you will take heart. I urge everybody, even if you're not a gun owner, to join the NRA so that we've got a voice to fight these people.
You know, just not too long ago, I had a form I was mandatory to fill out. And in that inflammatory thing, they asked me, do you have firearms in your house? How many?
Yeah.
You know, that's on my toes, and I did not answer.
That's good. I'm glad to hear you say that. I'm not going to give information to anybody. I've had people call me and say that while they were at the doctor's office, somebody came in with a little chart and a form, and they said, blah, blah, do you have this? Do you have that? Do you have guns in your home? When it comes to that, that's personal information, and I always tell people, don't answer those questions. Don't give them any fodder. And if you do say, yeah, I got 3 Sherman tanks out in my front yard, you know, don't give them anything.
As long as you don't have a concealed weapon permit, you don't have to disclose that to anyone, I don't think.
Well, I'm urging people not to. I'm urging people to buy guns. I'm urging people to buy ammunition. I'm urging people to protect themselves. I'm urging people to take that extra pressure off of our police forces and at least acknowledge the fact that they can protect themselves before the police get there.
Yeah, and what is this about ammunition being so rare all of a sudden? It just drove the price up.
Yeah,
they'll buy them, but it just costs them more money.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I just am an advocate of protect yourself, and I think what you're doing is good. Don't answer any questions that are self-incrimination. You don't have to. Keith, I got to run and do a commercial. Thank you, my dear friend. God bless you. Thanks.
You bet.
All right. Let's have this good word for Representative Steve Hartkin.
From City of Rocks to the Twin Falls County Fair, this Magic Valley of ours offers tremendous opportunity for Idaho citizens, but we have to work to keep it that way. Low taxes, limited government, responsible financial management. I'm Stephen Hartkin, Idaho House Republican, and I'm proud to represent your Idaho Republican values. I'm running for re-election this fall and ask for your vote on November 4th. I'm House Republican Stephen Hartkin, and I approve this message.
You know, and I don't know about you, but when people start asking me questions, whether it's on the phone with marketers or whether it's at a doctor's office or whatever, like I just recently went to the doctor's office and all of a sudden the nurse said, do you wear seatbelts? What? What's that got to do with what was ailing me and why I was there? It's this probing and this incessant questioning into our personal lives. And I do know many, many people. My Aunt Miriam, many of you know, recently went to the doctor. She called me and she said they asked her about guns. And my aunt lives alone in a wooded area. With the passing of her husband, she lives alone. You doggone right my aunt has a gun. But when asked, she said, I refuse to answer that question. I think we all should refuse to answer that question. Now, back to the original intent. Will and possibly could Obama try to tie some gun control legislation in with anything and with Obamacare, with any changes, any transitions whatsoever? Absolutely. And we need to be cognizant of what's going on. I think the next 2 years, I'm just going to come right out and say it, I don't trust any Democrat that walks with a D behind his name or her name. I don't trust anything that goes on with Obama and his ideology. I don't trust anything from the Democratic Party. Their platform reeks of taking away our rights and privileges. That's my own personal thought. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I just don't trust this man. I've said it before, and I think for the next 2 years, he's toxic now to other candidates. He's toxic to all of us. I do not trust this man at all. Gina, could we have the good word for HJR2, and then we'll be back and hopefully have some phone calls. Thank you.
Vote yes November 4th for HJR2, a constitutional amendment to keep the power of Idaho governance with the people. Vote yes on HJR2 to limit executive power over you and your business. Vote yes on HJR2 to keep your legislators working for your needs, not special interest groups. Vote yes on HJR2 to preserve the voice of we the people for the state of Idaho. Vote yes on HJR2. Paid for by Representative Fred Wood, House Speaker Scott Bedke, and Senator Dean Cameron. Vote yes on HJR2.
Can you imagine, just for a moment, not being able to protect yourself, whether you're up in the hills, whether you are up there maybe bringing home the cattle or the sheep? Then all of a sudden, there is a great big black bear. All of a sudden, there is something that demands and commands the fact that you should have a firearm to protect yourself. Can you imagine not being able to protect yourself when armed thugs pull into your yard, your farm, your ranch, and basically hold you at gunpoint against your will? And they will have the guns. The bad guys will always have the guns and the weapons. Can you imagine a world where you and I cannot protect ourselves, and that we have to run and hide and lock ourselves in a self-enforced prison, hoping that our call is received by the police, hoping that they will get there before the very worst scenario happens, hoping and praying, because we have nothing more than a shovel to protect ourselves? Can you imagine that kind of a scenario? Well, it's not that far on the horizon. And right now, with this insidious man, this despicable president that we have, and I use those words because I don't trust this man. I think right now, knowing, he knows he's a very intelligent man. He knows he's not thought of highly. Look at the numbers. He knows that his fellow Democrats, they don't want him around because the word was toxic. And he knows that for the next 2 years, to force his ideology on the American public, he will and can and must do whatever it takes. There's a lot of big money behind him. I want to talk a little bit about our Les Schwab Tire Centers. And boy, oh boy, get ready for winter driving. I can't stress that enough. And they are also saying, are you ready for winter driving? That's right. If you need tires pinned for studs and ready to go to take you over all the roads, you better stop in and see them today. And they've got all your passenger car tires. They got all your pickup tires, all your SUV tires. They've got all the tires for winter driving. They got all your snow chains. And one thing we overlook sometimes is all the batteries. Yep, if your battery is not up to par and kind of when you turn the key it goes whoom, 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 boom, 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 boom. Well, you know it's about ready to croak. And you better stop in there at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and check out all the batteries for your pick-em-up trucks, cars, etc. Stop in at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Also, real fast, I want to say thank you to Snyder's Surplus. What wonderful people. They're not just arming. Well, they will help you arm. They're not just army and hunting supplies. No, they've got a lot of goodies over there. And I keep saying I got to get in there and get my chair. Well, I do have to get in there and get a new chair. My other one kind of went pop in the back, and it's one of those that it's dangerous. Anyway, I need to get in there. They got office chairs. They've got mattresses. They got bunk beds. They've got wool blankets. They've got filing cabinets, and I need some filing cabinets too. All of this and more at Snyder's Surplus with their brand new store, brand new merchandise at 112 South, 200 West of Rupert. Snyder's Surplus. Stop in and see them today. Really, really nice people. Coming up next hour, we've got Frosty Woolridge, and I know Frosty's going to be talking about immigration and everything going on with this mess on the border, open porous borders. And then at 9:30, the Alliance Defending Freedom has been heavily involved in telling the mayor of Houston, no, our ministers will not supply you with their sermons. And that's going to be an interesting hour, I'm sure. And then at 10:06, Governor's going to call for about 5 or 6 minutes. So we got a lot of things cooking for the rest of the day right here on Zeb at the Ranch. I'll be back in about 6 minutes. Don't you go away. Oh, welcome back. Zeb at the Ranch on a Monday. Thank you, Gina. Job well done. And welcome back. And our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers like Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland and Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Always at your disposal. And don't forget to get on the route service to have your garbage picked up once a week. Oh my goodness, we've been on their service for a long time, and it's almost right to the minute. My goodness, they're efficient. And also, they got all the dumpsters in various sizes. Get one, clean out the basement or the garage or whatever, fill it up, they'll come get it. Western Waste Services, get on their program, 734-6969, always at your disposal. Also, real fast, I want to remind everybody about our dear, dear friend, and that's Joel Heward and his family over at Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Very, very flexible hours, and they are there when you need them. And they can travel to rural towns and churches and help you with all the arrangements when there's the passing of a loved one. Always, always with the highest ethical standards and with unquestioned integrity, serving you and your family at Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Number to call, 436-5636. I'm going to ask Gina if we can please have the good word for Steve Hartkin, and then we will have Frosty Woolridge.
From City of Rocks to the Twin Falls County Fair, this Magic Valley of ours offers tremendous opportunity for Idaho citizens, but we have to work to keep it that way. Low taxes, limited government, responsible financial management. I'm Stephen Hartkin, Idaho House Republican, and I'm proud to represent your Idaho Republican values. I'm running for re-election this fall and ask for your vote on November 4th. I'm House Republican Stephen Hartkin, and I approve this message.
Thank you very much, Steve Hartkin. And right now, a dear friend of mine, and when you talk of, my goodness sakes, I got a notice going off in my pocket with my cell phone, and as they may or may not know, I can't take those calls on the air. But a dear friend of mine, Frosty Woolridge, back in Golden, Colorado, and believe me, his state is not immune to what's going on tomorrow. A very important state, as a matter of fact, with the fight for the Senate. Good morning. How are you this morning, Frosty?
Well, good morning, Jeb. And this is quite a battle. But we feel very strongly at this point, and with some tremendous polling, that Cory Gardner, the up-and-coming former congressman, or present congressman here in Colorado, who is bright, sharp, and he's a fabulous family man, and he's just got all the qualities that make for a fantastic senator. And of course, Mark Udall is the 20 years in the House and the Senate, and he just, if you write his office, he gives you a form letter and ignores everything that you even ask for or even recommend. And I'm a first-hand person who knows that. I walked into his office last February. Gave my 30-minute speech. They guaranteed me 30 minutes to give the presentation on what it would mean to give an amnesty and to reduce amnesty and all immigration to less than 100,000 per year. The guy ushered me out with an important phone call within 19 minutes. 19 minutes. I didn't get to finish. They wouldn't let me stay. And then, of course, totally ignored the presentation that they heard. And then promptly doubled legal immigration and gave an amnesty, and he signed on to that, Mark Udall, same as Michael Bennett. And the fact is, they'll take your electronic, you can write them a letter, or you can call their office, and they promptly forget, and they promptly ignore anything that you recommended. So that's what we're facing, and Cory Gardner has a very good chance of winning. I think the Beaupre against Hickenlooper is a toss-up at this point. Amazingly enough, there's so many liberals in the state of Colorado now that they don't care that the state's being overrun by illegal aliens. And just last week, I incorporated this into one of my series on becoming a third world refugee camp. And that is that Denver, Colorado, has 172 different languages. I don't know if we said this last week, but we have 172 different languages here in Denver public schools. So as you can imagine, we're teaching to all of that kind of linguistic chaos and cultural illiteracy and that kind of poverty, because all these kids are on food stamps and Section 8 housing, and nothing's getting done in the way of education. So we have a tip up, but we do have a good positive stance for Cory Gardner becoming part of the U.S. Senate from Colorado.
Let me ask you this, Frosty, and I don't know if I've ever shared this with you, but I know Bob Beaupre very well. As a matter of fact, he's been on my program many times. And I like Bob Beaupre. And I don't know this Cory Gardner as well as I should. But what do you think? I'm going to put you on the spot. Are there enough people with some sanity in the state of Colorado, which is really a strong blue state, unfortunately? Is there a chance that maybe it might start to turn red?
I don't think so. Here's the problem. So much of, my 40 years in Colorado, we've gone from about 2 million people to now 5 million people. And most of those people that fled the East Coast and the West Coast fled because of the crowding, because of the schools turning into swamps, if you will, and the neighborhoods turning into swamps, if you will. And so they came to Colorado, but they brought their highly liberal approach and their views, and that's why the state has turned blue. And that's the tragedy that's happened to Colorado. We're a sanctuary state. Denver is a sanctuary state because Michael Hancock is a liberal, and he is the mayor, and he followed right on the footsteps of Hickenlooper, who, of course, was open borders and help illegal aliens here in Colorado, and then he's now the governor. So this is a sanctuary state, and the liberals and the Democrats, for whatever reason, no matter how many consequences it costs us, like I said, 172 different languages being spoken, and of course all these liberals don't let their kids go to all of these normal inner city schools in Denver or in Boulder. They put them into private schools, or they take them to the outskirts into all white schools. So the Democrats really are quite hypocritical, and they don't live their talk, I can tell you that.
Frosty, stand by just a minute. I've got to do a couple of real quick political ads, and I want to talk to you about the toxicity of Obama in just a moment. Stand by. Frosty Woolridge on the line with us. We'll be right back. Don't forget, Maxine Bell, representative from District 25A, says, please go vote tomorrow. Our nation, and especially Idaho, needs people to exercise their voting privileges and be a voice. Vote tomorrow, November 4th, and be a responsible, patriotic American. This message paid for by District 25 Representative Maxine Bell to the good folks of Jerome County and Twin Falls County, a proven leader for the Gem State. Also, ladies and gentlemen, re-elect Clark Kaufman as your District 25 representative to the legislature. Kaufman has served on the Revenue and Taxation Committee, Transportation and Defense Committee, and the Business Committee. He is honest, hardworking, and capable. Remember to vote on Tuesday, tomorrow, November 4th, and exercise your constitutional right. Vote Kaufman. Paid for by the committee to elect Clark Kaufman for Idaho. State Representative for District 25 Seat B, Debbie Kaufman, Treasurer. Frosty, getting back to the situation, I don't know if you had a chance to see the picture or not of the Philadelphia auditorium that holds roughly about 12,000 people. The Obama administration had booked Obama to speak there over this past weekend, and with his toxicity, they eventually made a decision to curtain off the auditorium in half, and then they had to make other changes because there were only 25% of the 12,000 seats that were filled. It was a disaster. The toxicity of Obama doesn't seem like they like him or want him around anymore.
I can second that. He is now less than 40% in the polls as far as approval rating nationally. That's Barack Obama. And there's no question that all of the Democratic people running for office are shying away, if not fleeing, from anything having to do with Barack Obama. And in fact, even Bill Clinton, and I don't know how many people know this, but Bill Clinton was a draft dodger. I mean, he was a professional draft dodger. His history is really one of not serving America, not standing up for his country. And, of course, we all know what he did in the White House. We all know about Monica Lewinsky. And of course, we also know Jack Kennedy, and we know about all the different kinds of immoral and unethical acts that some of our presidents have carried on with in the White House. But the thing that's going on right now is, as I said earlier, when you go into a Democrat's office, you get a song and dance. Well, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. Well, they're not doing anything. I mean, they're not making rational decisions. And so all of us get to suffer, whether it's the enterovirus that's now affecting, I think, 5 deaths now across the country of our kids. When you think about the quagmire that's going on in Iraq and Afghanistan, and when you think of, again, it's not in, the part 8 will be in tomorrow's newswithviews.com about adding 100 million legal immigrants to America in the next 30 years. And the consequences of that, part 8 is about the environmental impact of adding 100 million immigrants to this country, let alone 172 languages and another 140 or 50 different cultures, and displacing our country, our ethos, our language, our way of life, and obviously making it unsustainable. So I'm hoping that there's enough anger and frustration out there that the Democrats have not done anything good for this country, and Barack Obama leads that pack. He has not been doing anything that states that this is our country, our borders, our government, and he's not making positive choices for American citizens. It's obvious, and I guarantee you he's not making any positive choices for African American citizens. And so I hope that we do see a huge swing, and that the Senate is taken over by Republicans, the House is maintained by Republicans, and that we can neutralize this man before he does any more damage for the next 2 years.
Absolutely. We have a caller with a question. Go ahead, caller, quickly, please.
Recently, excuse me, Hillary Clinton event, and she didn't have anybody show up to her event either. It was pathetic. It was what the words were in the article. It was just a little information. Thanks, Kellen.
Go ahead in regards to Hillary Clinton. I cannot understand, Frosty, how the American public could be this, let's just call it what it is, stupid, to possibly entertain thoughts of sticking back in 2016 the same, if you will, ideologies as what we've seen for a total of now 6 years, going to be 8, with Barack Obama. What is the matter with America?
Well, again, you have millions of people, 48 million living on food stamps and Section 8 housing. You've got a lot of people who don't want to do any work. That's a fact.
That's the truth.
That's the truth. And you also have millions of people who don't and won't complete their education. I mean, 50, 60, 70% of Black America and Hispanic America do not complete their education. And I don't know what the latest figure, I think it's like 30% for white America, or the European Americans. But in the end, somebody's got to work to pay the taxes, and somebody's got to work to simply pay for the structure, the infrastructure, the defense of our country. And when you've got these many millions of people that are not doing that, they're sitting home watching TV, they're going to vote for somebody who's going to give them a free handout because they don't have the intellectual propensity, they certainly don't have the personal accountability or personal integrity to go out and get a job. And so that's what's happened. And so they're voting for the gimme. And the Democrats, the liberal Democrats, the Great Society, starting with Lyndon Johnson, no matter what you call it, it's a giveaway. And you and I are paying for the giveaway, but there's a lot of people out there that think that's just ducky, and they're called Democrats. They are a socialistic system, and they think that we have to share our work and our backs to give to those who are sitting on their butts watching TV. That is the baseline of what's happening to this country, and that's why the Democrats keep getting elected, because there's a lot of folks out there getting a free deal from the hand of the Democrats.
Absolutely. You just touched on something. I've only got about 4 minutes left, but I want to have you elaborate on this. I have said for a long time that God gave each and every one of us talents. There are those that are too dang dumb to understand what those talents are, and too lazy to try to persist in finding out what they are and try to achieve something. But he gave each and every person talents, and life is so short. Why not try to milk every drop out of it by using your talents? You travel, you write, you encourage people. I do the same, and I'm so tired of people that are just like sponges. All they do is lay there and absorb.
That is the great tragedy of our country, and it started back in 1964 there with the Great Society, and then you started paying women to have children, and you've got cases of women, and of course I know the one from Detroit. I read it in the Detroit Free Press. I had just finished a 16-hour day. And folks, it wasn't like I had an easy life as a teacher making very marginal wages and then having to be a truck driver in the summertime pushing furniture across this great land of ours in an 18-wheeler. But I never forget that Detroit Free Press when that gal with 24 children by 24 different men was getting the ADC, food stamps, and aid to dependent children, and she's got 24 kids. And that's what's going on in this country. There are millions of minority women out there, and there are also millions of just poor whites and so forth having 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 kids, and they're getting paid all this money and all these the food stamps and all these EBT cards, the electronic benefits transfer card, on your back and my back. And there's just so many of them now that's why we're $18 trillion in debt. That's why there's so much of a problem with personal accountability and personal responsibility. So I don't know what the final answer to this is, but it's going to have to be a president and a Congress that start putting in laws that make people accountable, and no more of this free handout. This country can't survive if we continue on this path, and it certainly can't survive, as you'll see tomorrow in Part 8 on newswithviews.com, what another 100 million illegal immigrants is going to do to our country.
Well, Frosty, I want to go back to you in your life. You've done so much. You've bicycled all across various continents. You've met people. You've read and written about everything, and you've tried to be a stimulating factor for other people to get up off the couch and go do something. So have I. I believe in personal achievement. I believe in being, like the Army used to say, the best you can be to enjoy your life to the fullest. I can't understand these lazy louts that sit there, as I said a minute ago, like sponges, and collect everything from you and me and call that a life.
Well, I unfortunately have to bring in the fact that they have a very low intellectual capacity. And the lower you go on the intellectual capacity, it's easier just to sit and eat and do nothing. And that's what I found when I taught in the inner city. I taught for 2 years in the inner city, and all these kids look like bright little shiny eyes, but when they have a very low intellectual capacity, they simply can't achieve. They can't do their math. They don't care about doing their math. And of course, there was a big brouhaha why there weren't more black economists and everything. Well, the fact is, there's just not enough of African Americans that are studying hard enough to get through the colleges and the high schools to get onto that course. But the liberals and everybody else say, well, we just got to get them in there. Well, yeah, let's have more affirmative action. Well, affirmative action in the final analysis doesn't get somebody to get down and study and earn the grades, to earn the degree and earn the ability to be an expert in some area. I'll tell you what, when I was in college, I busted my butt 7 days a week. I didn't have a date for the first 3 years of college because my goal was to earn a college degree, and nobody gave me an affirmative action grade. I never got an easy class, and the fact is, I'm just a Michigan farm boy, and I had the same personal accountability and responsibility that my dad gave to me and my grandpa gave to me. You got to get the cows in, you got to milk those cows, you got to put the hay in the mow, you got to mow the hay up, you got to do the cultivating of the corn and so forth. And if you don't do it, it doesn't get done.
That's
but unfortunately, we've got too many people today that think, well, I'll just live off of somebody else because they're all doing it, and I can sit here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's the frustration. I will be speaking at the Denver Republican Men's Club next Monday. I won't be on your show, but I am going to give them a part 8, all parts of my series on turning America into a refugee camp, and so that's why they wanted me, and I'll be speaking, so I'll miss you next week on this thing.
No, I tell you what, here's what I want you to do, and I am out of time. Caller, I'm sorry, I'm flat out of time. I can't take your call right now because I got a commercial break. Frosty, bring us the highlights of that speech, and also give us some of the questions that were asked afterwards. Would you please, on the following week?
I will do that, Zeb. We'll do a rundown on the elections and everything week after this.
All right. Frosty Woolridge, Golden, Colorado, and I certainly appreciate his being on the program this morning. Gina, if we could please, this good word for HJR2.
Vote yes November 4th for HJR2, a constitutional amendment to keep the power of Idaho governance with the people. Vote yes on HJR2 to limit executive power over you and your business. Vote yes on HJR2 to keep your legislators working for your needs, not special interest groups. Vote yes on HJR2 to preserve the voice of we the people for the state of Idaho. Vote yes on HJR2. Paid for by Representative Fred Wood, House Speaker Scott Bedke, and Senator Dean Cameron. Vote yes on HJR2.
Representative Fred Wood is running unopposed for representative in District 27. Fred, of course, the chairman of the Health and Welfare Committee and on the Resources and Environment Committee, and he listens and works for the people of District 27, protecting Idaho's water, creating a positive economic environment. Fred would like to thank everyone who has voted for him in the past, and encourage people to get out and vote on November 4th tomorrow, and vote yes for the constitutional amendment HJR2, paid for by Fred Wood for House seat number 27. We're going to have our next guest with us in just a few moments. As you know, today is the last day before the election tomorrow. Please go vote. I want to remind you, too, about our friends over at Let's Ride. Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. Oh, my, they've got the 2015 snowmobiles in stock. In the store, ready for you. And don't forget, too, it's a great time to have your watercraft. Take them, get them over there, winterize for the winter, and don't forget to do the same for your ATVs. Yes, and while you're there, check out all the accessories for great Christmas gift-giving ideas at Let's Ride. Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. Really good, folks. And this is where the fun is sold, at Let's Ride. I want to remind you, too, about our friends, and dear friends they are, Cameron and Siemens Insurance, with all their life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, and employee benefits. Always remember, the number to call for an appointment, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Dean and Todd, dedicated and responsive to your needs, and very devoted in serving you. Please call that number, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. We're going to ask the lovely Gina Jameson right now if she would play a good word for Senator Jim Risch and Secretary of State Denny.
Mitt Romney on Jim Risch.
Jim Risch is a person who you can count on to help build jobs, to say no to the growth of government, to say no to the growth of taxes, to say yes to family values, and to stand up for the people of our nation and the state of Idaho. This is a man of integrity, honesty, and character.
Jim Risch is the person we can trust to fight for us in Washington. Jim Risch for the U.S. Senate.
I'm Jim Risch, and I approve this message.
Paid Risch for U.S. Senate.
All right, thank you.
Sorry, I was on the phone. Who's that other one you wanted?
And would you please, I know you were busy over there, also Secretary of State Lawrence Denny. And I would imagine maybe you'd like me to fill in because the button is not working. Is that right? Poor Gina.
Fill in for me for just 30 seconds.
No, I'll tell you what, I feel so sorry for her. Gina is absolutely dedicated. And I'm not saying this just to blow smoke, but Gina is one of those kind of people that is so dedicated to perfection and also very tight programming. And when there's any kind of equipment malfunction or something like that, she goes right through the roof. And it's definitely not her fault. And I just absolutely am blessed to have her and Deanne helping me with this program. Okay, Gina, thank you. I said some very nice things about you, and I know I'm just trying to cool you down a little bit because I know it's tough over there. Let's have that good word right now for Lawrence Denny.
Idaho's right to vote is critical. We need a steady hand to guarantee that right against pressures from the federal government. Lawrence Denny is that steady hand. His hand served our nation in Vietnam. His hand tilled the soil in rural Idaho and made crucial decisions as Speaker in the Idaho legislature. Lawrence Denny knows our values. He can carry on the tradition as Secretary of State. Protect your right to vote with experienced hands. Vote Denny for Idaho Secretary of State.
Hey, Denny for Idaho, Rick Howard, Treasurer.
Let's go to the phone lines right now, and we are going to have with us the lovely Carrie Kupek with the Alliance Defending Freedom. Good morning, Carrie. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. How are you?
Well, I got to be honest with you. I've been following this story and talking to individuals in the Houston area myself, pastors in the Houston area, and I want you to bring us up to speed as to what's happened with the lesbian mayor and her demand, Mayor Parker's demand that pastors give their sermons to her for a perusal prior to going to the pulpit. Now, that's been kind of backed off on a little bit, but I want you to give us a review of the story as it stands this morning.
Sure. So, like you said, she did back off, which is great news, but to backtrack a little bit, this is a case that started when there was a controversial bathroom bill passed by the city of Houston. This bill would have allowed men presenting as women to use women's locker rooms and women's restrooms. A lot of the people in Houston were upset about this bill, and so they generated a kind of a citizen initiative to get the required amount of signatures to get this bill up before the people to take a vote on it at election time, which would have been this week. And they got the requisite amount of signatures. In fact, they got 3 times the amount of signatures, somewhere around 55,000. They only needed about 17,000. They submitted these to the city secretary, who's authorized by law to certify them, validate them. She did so, handed them over to the city attorney, and the city attorney stopped the entire process right there and started arbitrarily throwing out entire pages of signatures, including a signature of a member of the Houston City Council, just to show you kind of how ridiculous this process was. The people who had, spent a lot of time and effort getting these signatures, following the law, this is a democratic process, they were understandably very upset. The city had acted unlawfully, so they turned around and they sued the city. The city responded by subpoenaing 5 local pastors who had been involved in generating support for these signatures to get this issue before the people. But they were 5 of hundreds of people who had been part of this coalition, and demanded that these 5 pastors turn over 17 different types of communication that ranged from sermons to private text messages between them and their parishioners. there's a large outcry across this country. Alliance Defending Freedom, we filed a request with the court to stop that subpoena from going forward because no pastor should be punished for speaking out. There was huge public outcry, and just last week, the mayor finally responded to the intense public pressure, and she withdrew the subpoena in its entirety.
All right, now, Carrie, I've got a multiplicity of questions for you on this. Number one, this bathroom bill. It's not a novel idea just to Houston. This sick and demented attitude with this bill has been proposed at various towns around the state of Idaho. And this absolutely demented attitude of men using women's restrooms and women using men's restroom, the transgendered and everything, a total demise of any moral value at all in any community. Are they going to get this thing changed?
Well, it's really hard to say. I think I think it's scheduled to be heard, the lawsuit itself, in January, and that's something we need to keep in mind if we're talking about Houston. The underlying lawsuit still stands. So while we're very happy and gratified that the subpoena was withdrawn, and keep in mind it never should have been issued in the first place, this idea of the city attorney just throwing out the signatures of the people, that's still there, and that's going to be heard in January. And from what I understand, that's the same kind of situation has happened in an area in California, and I believe that these bathroom bills are, as a rule, never put before the people. They are just arbitrarily sort of passed by these city councils, and people are just understandably upset, and they have to turn around and sue or kind of raise a ruckus to get these bills turned around, and it's concerning because clearly people don't want these bills. They don't want this men presenting as women to use locker rooms along with their wives and their children, because it clearly could breed such problems, just a multitude of problems.
Carrie, what about now, maybe this question's been asked before, maybe it hasn't, but with the amount of people that were outraged over this lesbian mayor, Parker, why couldn't they use the same vote support and get her recalled out of office?
It's a good question. I know she's a second-term mayor, so she's termed out at this point. But, like we saw, there was tremendous public outrage across this country. And Governor Huckabee called for pastors to send the mayor their sermons and people to send Bibles. And apparently there's a hallway in the mayor's office that's currently filled with Bibles and sermons right now. And so I think she got the message pretty loud and clear, because no pastor should be punished for simply exercising his, constitutional right to speak freely. And, if the city in Houston, the city in Texas can send a message to pastors, it's really sending a message to all the people in the area that if you dare to disagree with their particular perspective on an issue, they will make you pay. And that's certainly very disturbing.
Well, Carrie, this story, and the issues that are involved in this story, if the pastors and if the general public had not responded and had not just absolutely slammed their fists down and said, no, we will not support this, and the pastors said, no, we will not give you our sermons, and Mike Huckabee and others had not got involved, can you imagine what the long-term effects would have been? I mean, organized religion, whether it's Presbyterian, Lutheran, Catholic, it doesn't make any difference. All of that would have been subjected to government rule and control, and that would have been the end of religion in this country.
No, absolutely. I'm very pleased that this served to be some kind of wake-up call. There was a great rally in Houston last night, I Stand Sunday, and they had all kinds of great speakers come out, and I think it was really a rallying cry to the church and to pastors that, this has officially crossed over a threshold in this country that we have not seen the likes of before. And it was gratifying that so many people were, as upset as they were, upset that pastors could be punished by the government simply for speaking up and speaking out. But I think everyone needs to remain vigilant and watch. And I think it also shows that it's very important to be involved in the local level. This is not something that happened on the state level. This is something that was local to the city. And so I think if people remain engage in their local politics, engage in local city councils, I think we'll see fewer of these things happen. But I think it's important for people to remain watchful and vigilant and watch what their local councils are doing.
Okay, with that being said, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot here, Carrie, but it's worthy, I think, to make a note here. What about this mayor? What about the actions that she may take as a kind of I'm going to get even with them? What about other mayors of that ilk? What about other cities? I mean, are we prepared? Are you prepared for a big battle to have this happen again?
Well, I think the one very positive thing that came out of this whole situation is that it sent a very strong message to governments to not mess with religious freedom and freedom of speech. That these are freedoms that we cherish in this country. And if you take on pastors like the way the city mayor of Houston did, you're going to have to deal with some pretty intense national pressure. I mean, I think I talked about last week on your show that the U.S. Civil Rights Commissioner wrote a letter to the mayor of Houston. I don't think any mayor or governor wants to get a letter from the Civil Rights Commissioner saying that you're messing up big time. And so I think most local government and hopefully state government will think twice before infringing so grossly and abusing powers as much as they did in the situation to do so again.
Absolutely. I've got about 5 minutes left here. Carrie, tell us quickly about the Ave Maria School of Law and the problem that they're seeing.
Right. Well, another bit of good news, actually. The court ruled this past week in Ave Maria School of Law that they would not be forced by the government to distribute life-terminating drugs. And obviously, again, it goes back to this principle of freedom and freedom of conscience and freedom of religion that we cherish in this country. Certainly no faith-based educational institution should be forced to distribute, as part of an insurance plan, drugs and devices that completely contradict the teachings of its faith. And that's what was happening under the Obamacare mandate, the abortion pill mandate. That's what was happening with Ave Maria School of Law, like it's happened with a lot of religious institutions. But thankfully, the government upheld the religious freedom of Ave Maria, and has temporarily stopped the government from forcing them to violate their faith and the teachings of their faith in distributing these drugs and devices.
Well, Carrie, I'm just honored to have you on this program on behalf of the Alliance Defending Freedom, and boy, I hope that this story in Houston goes away. I hope that other fingers of the pie, if you will, do not start up, and we don't have to refight and rehash this again. But I just want to tell you how much I'm proud to have Alliance Defending Freedom on this program. Tell my listeners how they can follow this story and also your website, etc., to possibly help contribute to Alliance Defending Freedom.
Sure, they can go to alliancedefendingfreedom.org, or for more information on the cases themselves, if your listeners want to look at the legal documents and look at some other coverage on these cases, they can go to adsmedia.org.
Absolutely. And Carrie, God bless you, and I mean that. You're doing a great job. I always look forward to having you on the program, so thanks again for all you do.
Thanks, Ed. We appreciate you, too.
All right. Thank you very, very much. Very nice lady, Carrie Kupek with Alliance Defending Freedom. And, man, I'm going to stay right on this story. Absolutely. And I hope that any and all pastors that are listening to this program this morning, they stick their chin out, stick their chest out, and they say, I feel re-energized. I feel absolutely that I'm going to stand up for what's right. I'm going to stand up against what's wrong and fight back. And that's what happened in Houston. The pastors, and then pastors from around the nation, stood up, stood tall, and fought back. Good for them. Oh my, let's see. We are going to have these good words for Jim Risch, and then we will have a weather forecast.
Mitt Romney on Jim Risch.
Jim Risch is a person who you can count on to help build jobs, to say no to the growth of government, to say no to the growth of taxes, to say yes to family values, and to stand up for the people of our nation and the state of Idaho. This is a man of integrity, honesty, and character.
Jim Risch is the person we can trust to fight for us in Washington. Jim Risch for the U.S. Senate.
I'm Jim Raish, and I approve this message.
Paid Rish for U.S. Senate.
Did you notice how I kept my mouth shut that time and I didn't say anything over the tagline? Time for the weather, brought to you by Lennox Home Comfort Systems. Whether it's a gas furnace, air conditioner, or a heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort through our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, 678-0459. Here now, Michael Rogers Weather.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Monday. Michael Rogers is Zeb of the Ranch. Welcome to November. About a couple of weeks, everybody's going to ask that world-famous question, when is it going to snow? Got a couple more weeks for that. I'll start. Where am I going with that? Well, because you got nice weather all week. How about that? Now, today, it'll be a little bit cooler. You'll see a daytime high of about 49, struggle to get to 50. But it'll be a lot of sun and very little clouds. Cloudy tonight and sunny tomorrow. And then the temperatures start to warm up. As you work your way toward the end of the weekend, then you got a nice weekend. And then next week, not bad. And then the week when you're going to start to ask for snow, I'm looking at that. Not that anything is coming, but I've been doing this for quite a while, and everybody has a pattern. And usually right around November, about just before you get Thanksgiving, that all-important question, are we going to get snow for Christmas? I'll let you know all about it. Enjoy the day, enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
All right, thank you very much, MichaelRogersWeather.com. Brought to you by Lennox Home Comfort Systems through our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Really good, folks. Gina, take a deep breath. Is everything going better now?
Slowly, yes.
I couldn't help but laugh. Honestly, when that last tape wouldn't start, I thought, the makers of that button and that equipment, they have no idea how their lives are in danger at the present time.
They do not. They do not. And luckily, I have the ability to say, I got to ask you this, though. Do your coworkers realize that probably there's a serial killer in their midst? Yes, they absolutely realize it. They know, avoid Gina when she's about ready to attack. They've learned over the years.
Oh, well, listen, I made a very nice comment about you because I said there's nobody more diligent and more conscientious than you are, and you want things to go A1 perfecto. I can just imagine the black cloud that was hanging over your head with electricity and thunderstorms happening.
And it's like, come on, computer, really, you have to do this to me today. But, of course, it is Monday before Election Day, so computers are bound to fire up on me.
I got to ask you a question, though.
Sure.
Very serious topic, and I wanted your opinion on this. I have stated many, many times as a Christian that I don't think it is our right to take our lives into our own hands and subject the termination of our life into our basic needs and whims. That being said, this woman up in Oregon, that 29 years of age, and had a brain tumor, and she just said, nope, that's it. I'm going to pick the day, and I'm going to commit suicide. Goodbye. What are your thoughts? That's cold and calculated.
Well, I think my thoughts are probably going to differ a little bit more than yours are, and even though I do hold fast to those Christian values as to where, it is the Creator who decides to choose our time to go, which, by the way, and a lot of people know this, but my grandpa passed away last night at 6:05.
Oh, I'm
with all of this being said, the right to live and the right or lack thereof to be trapped in a body that you don't want to be in, and that you've lived your life and it's time to go. In her particular case, and I have not read up on it, I've just heard little blurbs in the news, because I knew that this was a story in the forefront. I don't know her particular situation, but if it was a terminal kind of tumor where they could not go in and remove it safely without her being brain damaged or incapacitated in any sort of way, I would probably follow in her footsteps because I want my family to remember me for who I am today and not the person, the vegetable that I would be laying in a hospital bed.
Okay, and I understand and respect and appreciate your remarks. However, there's a caveat to the story there a little bit too, as you are well aware. She had been showing signs of basically getting a little better, and she was able to take walks and hikes. And there is always that element, I feel, of, all of a sudden a miracle happens. And we've seen it happen many, many times with different cases.
Yes.
And I just wonder if the cold and calculating, here's the date on the calendar, and that's the day I am going to kill myself, that to me is, I'm having a real hard time even coming close to accepting that.
Well, if she was getting better and showing signs of improvement, and, I truly do believe in the power of prayer. The more people that you have surrounding you and your image in that bright white light and sending out prayers of healing. Because my grandmother was a Christian Scientist. She was a preacher of her own church, and we truly do believe in the power of prayer. Prayers are powerful, and they can heal. If she truly was showing, signs of improvement and maybe a miracle was about to happen and she stopped that short, I feel sorry for her because she did not allow that miracle to happen, and she's the one that's going to have to face that with her Creator when she makes it upstairs.
I think, though, that you and I may find some common ground here, that even though I possibly am much more rigid on my thoughts about self-suicide or assisted suicide, that there are policies and there are times that I think it's used as a crutch and an escape when absolutely it's inappropriate.
Yeah, and I did hear in some of the reports that she went out of state to get the appropriate drugs needed for her to assist in her own demise or her own death. That I don't think she should have done. I mean, I can kind of sort of understand, her line of thinking, but in the legal sense, should she have crossed state lines? No, she probably shouldn't have, unless she was going to move elsewhere. But then she would have been away from her family. So there's this whole world of unknowns that I have so many questions for. She's only 29. Only 29 years old, and if you're going to be that young to take your life, you haven't even lived half of your life. You've only lived like a nanosecond of your life. And so you just stop short of a miracle that could have happened.
Yeah, and supposing, and using your verbiage right there, you stop short of a miracle that could have happened. One does not know what's going to avail itself on the horizon. And that's why I have a hard time with somebody basically, in simple terminology, pulling the trigger on themselves.
Yeah, and in essence, that is really what she did. Was she married? Did she have children?
I don't think...
I don't know.
And there's a part of the story. I just saw her, I think it was with her boyfriend, but I am not sure. I wouldn't speak to that in all sincerity. I thought it was her boyfriend that she took the last walk with and everything, and she was not married. But if I am wrong on that, I'll stand corrected.
Yeah, see, I'll do some research and I'll look on that. But, let me rewind to back when I was 29. I was in college, young, vivacious, full of life, my future, still wide open. And if back in the age when I was 29, would that have, even in a terminal illness situation, would I have considered that? Absolutely not. I would have left it up to my Creator, and I would have been surrounded by my family and my family's prayers and their love, and I know that would have carried me through, whether it was, to my demise or to my recovery. Either way, that's my personal thing. I would have left it up to the Lord's hands. I would not have taken it upon myself. However, I am not that young girl, that young woman, and so I can't say I believe. I understand her reasoning and her line of thinking, but would I have followed that? No, I would not have.
I look at it, I'm the generation above you, and I say this, that when you get to be my age and older, you are looking for ways to grab the brass ring and find more years, not less. And I think I think sometimes, going back to what I said a moment ago, the younger generation sometimes uses this as an escape route to get away from problems, and that really bothers me.
Yeah, and we don't know what kind of, problems she had in the past. There's just so many unknowns that We will never know.
Yeah.
And it's sad to me that at the age of 29, she felt it necessary, even if she did have a terminal illness, to stop her life short and not fulfilling probably what was God's path for.
Absolutely. I tell you what, I got to pay some bills, and we'll take time if we have the calls come in. But first of all, I want to remind everybody about the fall savings going on at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. Oh, my goodness, you can get a king-size mattress for the price of a queen, and a queen for the price of a full. And they've got all kinds of dining room sets. Yes, they've got the dinette sets at prices that you cannot afford to pass up because, quite frankly, Thanksgiving is right around the corner and you got a whole bunch of people coming over. They've got super low prices on carpet. They've got super low prices on window coverings. Stop in and see them today. Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More for the fall savings at 459 Overland in Burley. Really, really nice people. Hey, talking about nice people, don't forget Senator Lee Hyder. This is a man that has been very, very busy up at the legislative session working for you and for me. He wants you to vote tomorrow, November 4th, for a man that's devoted to Idaho and you, and that's a vote for Lee Hyder, Senator for District 24. He's done so much, and he has so much more that he'd like to help with. So please remember, tomorrow, Senator Lee Hyder for District 24, paid for by Lee Hyder, Senate District 24. Gina, if I could please have the good word for Representative Steve Hartkin.
From City of Rocks to the Twin Falls County Fair, this Magic Valley of ours offers tremendous opportunity for Idaho citizens, but we have to work to keep it that way. Low taxes, limited government, responsible financial management. I'm Stephen Hartkin, Idaho House Republican, and I'm proud to represent your Idaho Republican values. I'm running for re-election this fall and ask for your vote on November 4th. I'm House Republican Stephen Hartkin, and I approve this message.
I think Gina and I would both say that tomorrow we're going to feel almost naked without all these commercials.
We will. We're going to have like a bare bones skeleton show that we can actually chit-chat.
Oh, my goodness. Can you imagine? Hey, by the way, before we go into the news break, I want to remind everybody about Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Nick Greenwell and his staff, absolutely fantastic people, friendly staff, absolutely knowledgeable staff with all the comprehensive services, all services available to help you feel better. They know sports medicine. They know all about your aches and pains. They know how to exercise and how to help you. They know that the hydrotherapy in the pool is great. They're the only ones with a pool around. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2, right there in Burley. I'm telling you, they're helping you get back to being you at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Really good folks. We're going to take a little break and come back in just a few minutes, and right after a little commercial break at 10:06, we're going to have Governor Butch Otter on the program for about 5 to 6 minutes. Stand by. We'll be right back. Thank you very much and welcome back. Zeb at the Ranch, hour number 3, and I'll check with Gina, my board op engineer. Is the governor on the line, Gina?
No, he is not.
All right, well, in that case, I think what I'll have you do, if you would, is play the good words for Lieutenant Governor Brad Little and Senator Jim Risch, and then we'll find out the status of his call.
Hi, I'm Brad Little, and I'm running for Lieutenant Governor. Idahoans are some of the most innovative and hardest-working people in the world. Let's help all Idahoans be job choosers, not job takers, for a better future.
Idaho is one of the best states to do business. With a strong system of education, we can attract more jobs in both traditional industries and new fields, like health, energy, manufacturing, and technology.
I'm Brad Little. Let's work together to build strong families, strong career choices, and a strong Idaho.
Hey, Little for Idaho, Tom Johnston, Treasurer.
Like most Idahoans, Senator Jim Risch shares the bootstrap roots that gives our state its independent character and strong values. Born into a working-class family, his dad, Elroy, was a lineman for the telephone company. Helen, his mom, worked in the school cafeteria. They stressed the importance of hard work and perseverance. He wasn't handed an education. He worked his way through college, working in kitchens and harvesting peas in the Palouse. Close to the U of I, where he earned degrees in forestry and law. He has served Idaho as a prosecuting attorney, state senator, lieutenant governor, and U.S. senator. Unimpressed with D.C. politics, Senator Risch fights the status quo and stands firm on the principles and beliefs expressed by the people of Idaho who sent him to Washington to represent them. On November 4th, let's make sure Jim Risch continues to fight for Idaho values in Washington.
I'm Jim Risch, and I approve this message.
Paid Risch for U.S. Senate.
Oh, thank you. And right now, I'm kind of like Gina this morning. I'm trying to make sure that we maintain some kind of a psychological advantage over what may or may not happen. Now, what was supposed to happen immediately at 10:06 is that the governor was supposed to be on the air.
Did he get waylaid? Bamboozled?
Well, whatever. He doesn't appear to be calling in at the present time.
No.
And when you run a live radio program and you promote it and say, yep, he's going to be here, and then he's not.
He ain't here.
Okay.
Do I need to call somebody?
No, because they promised me that he would be en route to various locations and that they would call us.
Gotcha.
And so there you go. By the way, I was going to ask you, too, the state football playoffs, there's a lot of good teams in this area.
Yes.
One team that I think gets overlooked a lot, and it's unfortunate with all the talk and the press and everything, I just want to say kudos to Declo and their wonderful, absolutely fantastic football program that they have over at Declo, and they got a great bunch of kids, and it seems like every single year they're making a vie for the championship, and I just want to give them kudos this morning. And she evidently is on the phone.
We've got a quick phone call, but big congratulations to the Declo Hornets as they beat Coal Valley over the weekend.
Yeah.
So that means that they do move on in the district playoffs. So big congratulations. And I do believe that Minico is also playing this weekend.
I was also going to give tribute to them, too, but thank you for putting that in there. We'll have that call in just a minute. Caller, stand by. Don't forget today at the Chadwick Sports Grill. Oh, my goodness. Chicken paprikash over white rice with vegetables and super salad. It's delicious. Always is. And, of course, the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. You're going to love the environment, love the people, and all the goodies on the menu at the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Go ahead.
I am just calling to encourage everyone in Cassia County to go out and vote tomorrow. And in particular, we're asking people to vote no to the retention of Mick Hodges.
Okay. And he is a judge, and you have that strong feeling about him.
Yes, I do. Zeb, I would not have believed it had I not witnessed it for myself. But there are many mothers in Cassia County whose children have been taken from them. I've witnessed for myself in a meeting and watched their broken hearts, how they cried and how they were so upset because of the loss of their children. These are good mothers. These are not alcoholics, drug addicts, but good, honorable mothers of this community. And my full support goes to each one of them.
All right.
And the sad thing about it is they think they're alone. They think that this great evil has come upon them, and they feel alone, but they're not.
Well, I certainly...
There are many people who are sympathetic to their cause, and we just hope and pray that everyone will get out and search this and see how serious it is. And please vote no.
All right.
These mothers.
That was very well stated, and I respect your comments, and thank you very much for your call this morning. I appreciate that. Calls are welcome and available. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air. Quickly, go ahead.
Morning, Zeb. I'm in agreement with your last caller, only my situation in this it was different. I know fathers who've lost their kids, the right to see their kids, for just the fact of being a guy. It's pretty much all it comes down to. They've taken care of their kids and paid their support. And went out of their way to support them, and their kids were taken from them, broken-hearted, and you can't do anything.
I tell you what, with stories like these that parents are taken away from their kids and or vice versa, it just brings huge tears to my eyes, and I just think that we need to do more to build up the family status today more so than ever before. Caller, I appreciate you and your viewpoint. Thank you so much.
Yep.
God bless. Don't forget, tomorrow is voting day. I don't want any excuses. Oh, the dog ate my car key holder, and I was looking for another ring to put my keys. Don't give me that kind of stuff, please. Just get out and vote. While we have just a moment, I'm going to ask Gina if the governor has not yet evidently called in, and I'm going to ask Gina to play a good word for Ron Crane.
On Election Day, Idaho voters should choose a state treasurer with a 16-year record of success in helping improve the lives of Idahoans. Treasurer Ron Crane has nurtured and grown the tax-deductible Ideal College Savings Program, which thousands of Idaho families now use to continue their children's education. And nearly 25,000 Idaho women have gained saving and investing skills through Ron Crane's popular Smart Women, Smart Money training program. Vote Ron Crane for treasurer, experienced investing, protecting Idaho's taxpayers.
Pay Crane for Idaho State Treasurer.
All right, thank you very much. Don't forget Maxine Bell, representative from District 25A, and she urges you to get out and vote tomorrow. Our nation, and especially Idaho, needs people to exercise their voting privileges and be a voice. Vote tomorrow, November 4th, and be a responsible, patriotic American. This message paid for by District 25 Representative Maxine Bell. To all the good folks of Jerome and Twin Falls County, a proven leader for the Gem State, Maxine Bell. You know, you had issues with the computer, and now, my dear Gina, I've got issues with dead air.
Well, we can always fill it in.
Hey, I do have a couple of topics I want to run by you.
Okay.
I think that there are comics and there are comedians that have lowered their stature and completely shot holes in their career by some of the subject matter that they poke fun at and make jokes out of. And you know who Chris Rock is.
Oh, yes. I can't say that I'm truly a fan of his, but I know he's had some funny bits, but some of them I'm like, wow.
Well, in the case of Chris Rock, I look at him as dependent upon gutter humor.
Yes.
And he was on Saturday Night Live on Saturday night, and naturally, and I did not see this personally firsthand, but I have seen the repercussions and also the cuts of the jokes that he made. And there are a couple of things that I think should remain sacred and not be laughed at or try to make humor out of. A couple being the Boston Marathon and the horrendous bombing. And then also 911 with the attack on our Twin Towers in New York City. And he went overboard on Saturday Night Live and absolutely made jokes and jests that I think were totally inappropriate. And I'll say this, I hope it damages his career.
Well, I'm in agreement with you on this. Those are two kind of sacred American moments where you just don't poke fun at. Maybe I'm just being overly emotional right now, but those are just two moments in our history where you just, I'm sorry, there's nothing of funny. You cannot find anything funny about those, and you cannot poke any sort of joke about those because it hits so close to the American heart.
3,000 people plus died in the Twin Towers, and then also what happened in Pennsylvania, and then, of course, the horrific bombings of the Boston Marathon, and I find no humor acceptable there whatsoever.
No, and maybe it's just that I've lost my lack of humor, but no, honestly, I do have a funny bone, but there's just certain topics that you don't touch.
I really am glad to hear you say that.
We've got a quick phone call, too, by the way.
Okay, I'll do it right after this. Stand by, caller, please. Don't forget, on Thursdays, we have a special segment called Cassia County School Days, and it's brought to you by A Child's World at 1308 Overland Avenue in Burley. And believe me, they've got games and puzzles and toys and all the baby equipment and all the stuff you need for the family right right there at A Child's World. Super nice people. Great store with a lot of nice people at Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley. And also the Ambulatory Surgery Center. And please, if you have any inkling at all that you might need a colonoscopy, don't put it off. Please go in there and have that checked out. Please today call 677-8888. The Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland in Burley. They can also help you with cataract surgery and knee and hand pain and save you a lot of money. Ambulatory Surgery Center, 1344 Highland, and A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley, serving you and bringing you Cassia County School Days. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hi. I wanted to touch base on the two callers that was speaking in regards to voting no for Mick Hodges.
Yes, go ahead, please.
I think it's important for the community to understand why these children were removed from their homes. These children were removed from their homes because that particular judge uses an evaluator, a parental evaluator, who is not even utilized by the Supreme Court in Idaho. She's not credited, she's not credentialed, she's not supposed to even be making allegations that she has been making about parental alienation, and so therefore the judge puts his trust in her, who isn't even certified to do what she's been doing in the first place. In fact, the Supreme Court came down to Cassia County a few months ago and spoke to the three judges working in Cassia County and said, do not use this particular evaluator. And 2 out of the 3 said okay, and Mick Hodges is the only one who still uses her.
All right, there you have it.
It's important to know that this is why this has been going on.
And you said it very eloquently and stated your case, and I admire the way you didn't bring names into it, and I appreciate that. And thank you for your position on this story, and we'll let everyone listen and appreciate it when they go to the polls tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Okay, I would
God
encourage
bless.
you to vote no.
Thank you very much.
So thank you.
You bet. Thank you for your call.
All right, bye-bye.
There's a lot of people that have emotions and convictions about various people and or items, and that's what voting is all about. And I urge you, there again, I'm saying it again and again and again, and I thank all those people for calling. I really do, because we need to go vote. Over the weekend, I was absolutely appalled at some of the comments that were on my phone, that people had left messages, I don't want to go vote, it's a waste of time, and all. How in the world can you call yourself an American citizen? How can you gripe and complain, and there's other words that I could throw in there, when you don't take 10 minutes to go vote? The people that called just moments ago, I really respect them because they are getting involved. They're trying to make a statement. They are letting people know that it's very important to go vote. And it is. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Good morning. Me again. You know, in my years, Zeb, I've watched a lot of politicians go around and spout their mouth off. But the other day, one come across, I think it's from North Carolina, when he said, we're going to run the whore out the door.
Oh, my Lord, yes.
That is where I see. That's it. Mr. Democrat, I hope they run you clear out of the state.
Now, stop right there, Al, because I saw that, and I listened to it at least on 6 or 7 different occasions with news bites. And, you know, they came back later, as you well are aware, and they said, oh, well, it was just a slip of the tongue. No, with the giggling and the laughing and the sneering and everything, that was not a slip of the tongue. No. And I absolutely think politics reached the gutter right there with that particular individual. And I, like you, would like to see this man go down in the flames of defeat, never to be able to run again.
I think he will, but I think who he's going against is that Haley woman, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
Okay. She's done one heck of a good job for that state, and I think they ought to run him clear out of the country.
You can't possibly justify that kind of filth and sensationalism in a speech, and you know as well as I do, Al, that was not a slip of the tongue. It wasn't a faux pas. It was a planned response.
I know. And then Al Sharpton comes up and says, well, this so-and-so down in that state is in charge of all the stuff and is responsible for that shooting of Leon or that Johnson or whatever his name is.
There is an excellent story, Al, and I'm going to make sure you get a copy of this story in Newsmax magazine. It's an excellent publication. My wife, God bless her, she subscribed to that for me about a year ago. And Tucker Carlson and others are writers and editors of this publication. And there is about a six or seven page, I'll be right there, 6 or 7 page story about Al Sharpton. And I understand we have the governor on the line, Al.
I'm going.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Good morning, and we're down to limited time for our governor of Idaho, Mr. Butch Otter. Good to have you on the program, sir.
Good morning, Zeb. Geez, I sure hate to bump Al Sharpton.
Well, Al Sharpton, as far as I'm concerned, is the bottom of the pickle barrel, and it's nice to have you on to clean things up.
Yeah, I think he's been bumped quite a little bit in the head.
You know, Butch, I've got to ask you, we've been friends for almost 40 years. We've known each other, and I think a question that I'd like to ask you directly, friend to friend, is why? Why do you want to subject yourself again to be governor for a third term and have to take all this nonsense that's been spread around the state? What are your main reasons for wanting the governorship for one more term?
Well, Zeb, first off, I love this state. You know, this is the state I was born in, and a lot of my brothers and sisters were born here, and all my kids were born here, and all my grandkids have been born here. And it is my home state, and I want a state that they can be proud of. I want a state that's the economy is good, and as you can tell, the economy is really perking up. And I want a state that has a good education system. And for the first time in the history of the state that I can remember, that we finally have a good 5-year plan that has great support all across the political spectrum for improving education in Idaho, K through 12, and the university system. So, for all those reasons, I want to serve another 4 years.
Butch, what do you think is the number one issue right now that you want to address in the next term that you think is critical for the state of Idaho?
Well, interestingly enough, most of the key issues, as far as I'm concerned, are pretty well interconnected, Zeb. For instance, if we have a great education system that's really producing a great workforce, then great companies that are already here are going to want to continue to grow here. Great companies that want to move into Idaho will see that there's a great educated, well-motivated workforce, and the results will be is that they'll move here. And so the economy will be good. So good education, a great education system that produces a tremendous workforce will then produce a great economy.
You know, I want to ask you, Governor, I salute you because of your stand against gay marriage coming into the state of Idaho, but the Ninth Circuit Court seemed to overrun every one of us, and our opinions didn't matter. Your opponent seems to be in favor of gay marriage. Is that a very divisive item between you and Mr. Belukoff?
Yeah, well, I really don't think there's anybody in Idaho that is for discrimination. I believe that in my heart of hearts. What we are for is traditional marriage.
Yes.
And we were so for it that in 2006, Idahoans went to the polls and they adopted an amendment to our Constitution, Article 3, Section 28, that defines marriage in Idaho as that union between one man and one woman. We consider that a sacred trust in Idaho. And anybody that wants to infringe upon that, we resist. And so then we get the moniker that, we're against gays and lesbians, we're against that community. And there couldn't be anything further from the truth.
When you talk about the different issues, Mr. Belukoff was always about education, but it takes a well-rounded governor with a lot of different topics and knowledge of those topics. And you've been very well versed as far as water issues, the wolf issue, Obamacare, etc. What about tomorrow and getting people to the polls? Are you comfortable with the fact that you have served this state for the last 2 terms and want another one?
Well, number one, I think let's look at the facts. the facts are that, yeah, we don't spend as much money as a lot of other states do spend on education. And they're always complaining that we're at the bottom. But we've never believed in Idaho that it's how much money you spend, it's how you spend the money. And so when you look at our results and you see our 8th graders, they're number 8 in the nation at reading at grade level, the math, they're 15th. We just do a better job with our education money. I remember when I was in D.C., they were spending like $22,000 per student in Washington, D.C. in their school system. But when you went to their schools, where there was a policeman in almost every hallway, there was metal detectors that had to be bought and then operated to keep students from bringing weapons into the school. The same thing was going on out in the parking lot. And all of those dollars are also added into the overall cost of education. What's important is what do you spend in the classroom, and then what kind of results do you get out of the classroom? And the result of that, I say again, is we're operating way above many other states when it comes to performance. But the fact that we're the fastest growing economy in terms of personal income last year, we grew faster than any other state. We're the 5th fastest growing. Now that was on personal income. We were number 1 in the nation. We're number 5 in the nation on overall economic growth. Who are we behind? Wyoming, North Dakota, West Virginia, Wyoming, all natural resource states. Our tremendous natural resources, and this is another reason why I'm so proud to lead this state, has been the people and their positive attitude. And they're not being debilitated from using the assets that we do have to keep us from using those assets because of what we don't have. We just looked at what we did have, and we have a good, hard-working population. We have a great family state, and we have a good work ethic. And we focused on those things, and I believe that's why we are where we are in the growth of the economy.
Governor Butch Otter, I am so sorry that we got you on late, but I've got a hard break, and then I want to wish you and Miss Lori the very best, and put your Tony Lamas up on the desk tomorrow and take a well-deserved break, okay?
Okay, Zeb, thanks. And maybe next year, we'll instead of all the campaigning, we'll have a little more time to roll together.
I certainly hope so, sir. God bless. Thank you for calling in. Appreciate it.
God bless you, and thank you, Zeb.
Thank you very much. Governor Butch Otter, the day before the elections tomorrow. We're going to take a break in just a minute, but I'm going to ask Gina if we could please have the good word for HJR2, and then I'll be right back and then send it to you.
Vote yes November 4th for HJR2, a constitutional amendment to keep the power of Idaho governance with the people. Vote yes on HJR2 to limit executive power over you and your business. Vote yes on HJR2 to keep your legislators working for your needs, not special interest groups. Vote yes on HJR2 to preserve the voice of we the people for the state of Idaho. Vote yes on HJR2. Paid for by Representative Fred Wood, House Speaker Scott Bedke, and Senator Dean Cameron. Vote yes on HJR2.
Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, too, Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley with Lennox, with the home comfort systems, gas furnaces, air conditioners, and heat pumps, all for your comfort at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Give them a call today, 678-0459. Now, back over to Gina.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KVAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Oh, my, what a day. We're busy. Gina, is my good friend Dan Kish on the line. Is he waiting for us?
Sorry, I was leaving a message for Dan Kish. What did you say?
Oh, you were leaving a message for Dan Kish. I just asked you if he was on the air with us this morning.
Let me try his backup number.
Oh, okay. I gave that to you, didn't I?
Yeah, you
Okay,
did.
While you're doing that, I'll go ahead and take I love live radio. Oh, it's so much fun. Hey, don't forget our dear friend, Senator Jim Patrick from District 25. Farmer for over 40 years, and I'll guarantee you a lot of folks are appreciative of the fact that he went into politics and is serving them as their senator from District 25. He says thank you to all the people that supported him, and Jim has a deep understanding of water issues due to personal history on the salmon track, and he's vice chair of the Commerce and Human Resources Committee, Agricultural Committee, and Education Committee. Senator Jim Patrick from District 25 wants your vote again to represent you. Don't forget, paid for by Jim Patrick, Senator, District 25. And as we go along, we very carefully say, gee, we hope our guest is available, Dan Kish. We've had an awful lot of trouble trying to reach Dan Kish. It hasn't worked the last couple of days. Hey, don't forget Gannett Landscaping and Sprinkler Service. The cold weather is going to be here, and it's going to last every day. It's not going to just be hit and miss. And if you haven't got your sprinkler systems blown out, you better do so before they really cause you some damage. And then you're looking at a whole bunch of repair work and everything else. So get on the list to have your sprinkler systems blown out. And don't forget, all your trees properly pruned, fruit trees, ornamental trees, shade trees, everything at Gannett Landscaping and Sprinkler Service, 336 South, 450 West of Paul. Number to call, 438-2485. Really, really good people. Well, let's see if that number worked for Gina.
Nope.
You know, I think what we ought to do is get a rather large bottle of an adult beverage and sit there in the middle of the floor and not move for the rest of the afternoon.
I'm in complete agreement with that.
You know, what
time should I show up?
All of my people have said, well, yeah, we'll be there right on time, and nothing's gone according to Hoyle this morning.
Nothing has gone according to record. So I called the backup number, still nothing, and so I'm going to try the main line again, see if I can get him.
I'll tell you what, while you're doing that, would you mind playing a good word for Steve Hartkin?
Sure.
All right, thank you.
From City of Rocks to the Twin Falls County Fair, this Magic Valley of ours offers tremendous opportunity for Idaho citizens, but we have to work to keep it that way. Low taxes, limited government, responsible financial management. I'm Stephen Hartkin, Idaho House Republican, and I'm proud to represent your Idaho Republican values. I'm running for re-election this fall and ask for your vote on November 4th. I'm House Republican Stephen Hartkin, and I approve this message.
All right, thank you very much, Steve. Appreciate it. And once again, Gina's checking on our guest, Dan Kish. We got the choir, huh?
Hey, you know, whenever we can call in the choir, it's much needed.
And so I'm assuming that the choir with the hallelujah means we've finally got a hold of Dan Kish, right? Oh, my goodness. With all the fanfare, here he is in all of his radiant glory, because I didn't think we'd ever get a hold of him. Dan Kish with the Institute for Energy Research. How are you, Daniel?
Hey, Zeb, it's great to hear your voice, and listen, my apologies. I realize I've been kind of hard to get a hold of lately, and it's all my fault, so what can I say?
Well, don't worry about it. I'm glad to have you on here. Hey, listen, I am worried, though, about what's going on with this administration. He's got 2 years left. This man is toxic. Nobody on the Democratic side that's running for office wants to have their picture taken with him. They don't want him at special rebel-rousing events. They just don't want anything to do with him, and he has some people that are working behind the scenes, like billionaire Tom Steyer, that are contributing millions and millions of dollars to put us into a regressive green energy program. You, more than anybody else, Dan Kish, knows what's going on. Bring us up to speed with this guy called Steyer and his money.
Well, you bet, Zeb, and you're absolutely right. He's not alone. I mean, I've been here for 3 decades now. I hate to admit, but I've never seen anything like this. I mean, this guy and the Green Left. I mean, the Green Left used to be a bunch of. We used to talk about, you know, environmentalists, just a bunch of dope-smoking hippies with long hair. Well, you know, we all care about the environment. That's one thing. But the people who are really activists, boy, we can throw that right out the window. We're talking about big, huge money, and Tom Steyer is the number one guy. He's made billions of dollars by developing coal mines in Indonesia and Australia to sell China a bunch of coal, and then he comes back here and tries to shut down everything back in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe he's running for office or something, but not only he, but all these wealthy people, you know, the Michael Bloomberg's, the guy that wants to take our guns and tell us what size soda to drink, and they're pouring money in, and then the George Soros types, you know, and they've spent more money on more elections. They don't even talk about global warming. No, they're talking about anything but, because they realize that global warming doesn't. But they're basically just trying to seize power, and the major media won't discuss it at all. But Tom Steyer himself has dumped more than $60 million of his own money, and then taken a lot more money from other people, and they're running around the country spending it, trying to buy these elections.
Dan, as I said, nobody knows more about what's going on with energy than you do. I mean, I put a lot of faith and I put a lot of trust in your remarks. And Steyer's main goal, they did quite a story on this guy in the USA Today the other day, and one of the straightforward goals was this, quote, to get the United States to transform its energy economy and to lead the world to transform its energy economy. This word transform, that scares me. What does it mean?
Yeah, it's a great question, Zeb. Well, you'll remember the president said he wanted to fundamentally transform the United States.
Yeah.
And we've seen what he's been trying. Transform means take the stuff that works, that makes economic sense for us, that we can afford, and that are, you know, at least it's affordable compared to the options, and replace it. Basically, shut down the companies and the people who have made investments in the sorts of energy that we currently use, and then what we're going to do is we're going to give our friends who run companies like Solyndra and wind power companies, and you name it, you could go on down the list, the ones that are invested heavily in that, and make them not only reliant on the federal government, because they have to have mandates and subsidies to make this stuff work, to be able to even afford to put it in the system, but ultimately make our costs go up. Because remember, the other thing the president said was, under his plan, electricity prices would necessarily skyrocket.
Mm-hmm.
They think we use too much. They think we shouldn't drive pickup trucks. So we ought to be driving clown cars, because that's what they drive in the big cities.
Mm-hmm.
And or they take the bus or the subway or something else, and that's good enough for everybody. They just don't even understand what America's all about, and frankly, they don't want people living out there in the middle of nowhere, traveling all over the place. They'd rather have us all jammed in the cities. Then we vote right and we see the world properly. They can keep an eye on us. Things are a lot easier when the government has everybody assembled in one big area.
Has the man lost his credibility and has he lost his power? And Dan, the reason I ask this, they don't want to be seen with him, the Democrats. They don't trust his ideology. It's been a failed process. But now with this man, his pen and his phone, and then big money like Steyer behind him, in the next 2 years, even if the Republicans gain control of the Senate and have complete control of both houses, will this man be so insidious that we're still going to suffer with energy programs that'll bankrupt us?
Well, Zeb, I'm afraid he's going to continue to pursue this. I think this is something that he really means business on, and time will only tell. But given everything we've seen so far, he's not going to relent on this at all. This is like it's like a religion, and they've got a lot at stake. People have invested huge amounts of money, and they're going to let them know along the way. I mean, all of his forces have been working at this. They're trying to get us bound up with some deal at the United Nations on carbon dioxide emissions, which, as you know and I know, foreign countries aren't going to follow anyway.
That's right.
They're going to do what's in the interest of their own people. But And let me just, there's a lot of these folks who say they don't want anything to do with him. Zeb, they've been saddled up next to him for this entire time. I mean, what you're talking about is a deathbed conversion. All of a sudden, they're pretending like they never heard of the guy's name.
Mm-hmm.
They've been voting with him. They've been voting with him to stop the Keystone. They've been voting with him to stop expanding development here. They've been voting against regulations that seek to rein in the EPA, which is trying not only to regulate our energy, but to regulate our farming and water use and everything else through their Waters of the United States rule. These people are just, they're hell-bound for leather to try to grab every last control they can and take it back to Washington because they're smarter than the rest of us. And that's what motivates them. Our founding fathers knew this about people, but eventually governments always seek more power, and that's why they try to put a fence around them, and they've broken out of the fence.
Let me ask you one final thought here, Dan. I'm running a little bit late with all of our political advertising, et cetera, as which you can understand. But if a gentleman like Tom Steyer becomes, and some say his aspirations are to become the California governor, if a man like him obtains the bully pulpit of that big state of California with his energy parameters, holy smokes, that would give him unlimited power, would it not?
Well, yes. Of course, I mean, I think we've seen California continues to do things that are costing Californians, and I think we're, basically what's happened is they've blown holes in the bottom of the boat of any kind of manufacturing there, and you've got people, the middle class is gone. It's rich people and poor folk anymore. At least the ones that have been able to get out have gotten out and gone to other places.
Yeah. But what do you think overall the next 2 years? I mean, give us kind of the top two predictions from Dan Kish as to what we might be wary of and watchful of with this man with his pen and his phone, Obama.
Yeah, watch the regulatory side, Zeb. He likes to talk about his pen and his phone. And I think we're going to see all kinds of things on carbon dioxide. And I ask people, I know it makes our eyes glaze over, global warming and all the rest, but they really do mean business on that. And they've got a regulatory agenda that will simply make it harder and harder and harder and harder for us to produce the energy necessary to keep the lights on and allow us to afford it. And that's what I'd really look for. It's probably numbers 1 and 2.
Okay.
Just keep watching what he's up to, because I don't think he's going to back off on this. It's time for everyone to be very vigilant.
All right. My friend, Dan Kish, Institute of Energy Research, always welcome on this program. Dan, thank you. God bless you, man. And if I don't talk to you before, have a wonderful Thanksgiving, okay?
Thank you, Zeb. It's great to hear your voice, and same to you on Thanksgiving. God bless.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. I really trust that man and his opinion. Dan Kish with the IER. Gina, I'm going to ask you a favor, if you would, please. Could I please have the good words for Secretary of State Lawrence Denny and a message for HJR2?
Idaho's right to vote is critical. We need a steady hand to guarantee that right against pressures from the federal government. Lawrence Denny is that steady hand. His hand served our nation in Vietnam. His hand tilled the soil in rural Idaho and made crucial decisions as Speaker in the Idaho legislature. Lawrence Denny knows our values. He can carry on the tradition as Secretary of State. Protect your right to vote with experienced hands. Vote Denny for Idaho's Secretary of State.
Hey, Denny for Idaho, Rick Howard, Treasurer.
Vote yes November 4th for HJR2, a constitutional amendment to keep the power of Idaho governance with the people. Vote yes on HJR2 to limit executive power over you and your business. Vote yes on HJR2 to keep your legislators working for your needs, not special interest groups. Vote yes on HJR2 to preserve the voice of we the people for the state of Idaho. Vote yes on HJR2. Paid for by Representative Fred Wood, House Speaker Scott Bedke, and Senator Dean Cameron vote yes on HJR2.
Oh, thank you. It's time. Actually, it's past time for the weather. And the weather this hour is brought to you by Scarrows Meats at 331 North Road, Jerome, selling taste one bite at a time. Oh, listen, they guarantee everything they sell. How does a smoked ham or a smoked turkey sound for Thanksgiving? Ooh, delicious. Order yours now from Scarrows Meats, 324-7657. We'll tell you more about them in just a minute. Right now, here is Michael Rogers' weather.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Monday. Michael Rogers at Zeb of the Ranch. Welcome to November. About a couple of weeks, everybody's going to ask that world-famous question, when is it going to snow? Got a couple more weeks for that'll start. Where am I going with that? Well, because you got nice weather all week. How about that? Now, today, it'll be a little bit cooler. You'll see a daytime high of about 49, struggle to get to 50. But it'll be a lot of sun and very little clouds. Cloudy tonight and sunny tomorrow. And then the temperatures start to warm up. As you work your way toward the end of the weekend, then you got a nice weekend. And then next week, not bad. And then the week when you're going to start to ask for snow, I'm looking at that. Not that anything is coming, but I've been doing this for quite a while, and everybody has a pattern. And usually right around November, about just before you get Thanksgiving, that all-important question, are we going to get snow for Christmas? I'll let you know all about it. Enjoy the day, enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
All right, thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. And, of course, brought to you this hour by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657. They are selling taste one bite at a time. Wow. You know, Gina, the political season, with all the commercials and everything else, kind of like leaning into the wind and trying to keep your balance. But tomorrow when it ends, we'll probably fall on our face.
Oh, gosh, you have no idea. Actually, I do have an idea, but the end is near.
It's been really, in some respects, a blessing, of course, but and we get people involved. And I want to say again, there is no excuse, none, for not going to the polls tomorrow and voting.
Yes. And when you get out to the polls, if you have questions, about who's on the ballot, get online, do some research, ask your friends, ask your constituents. There's no reason for you to be uninformed when you go to the polls, but don't just say, oh, I'm not going to vote, because if you don't vote, then your voice isn't going to be heard, and then when you do complain, your complaint is not valid.
No, and speaking about the ballots, and I'm glad you brought this up, I mentioned it first hour, and I'm going to say it again. I always criticize the Times News and everything, but there were sample ballots, and they did a good job of sticking those in their entirety in the paper this last Thursday, as a matter of fact. They had the sample ballots in for various regions like Twin Falls County, and then they had Minidoka County and other areas. And there's no reason that you can't familiarize yourself with the ballot before you go to the polls so that you're not nervous and that you don't hurry up and make a mistake. And all it takes is a little preparation, for Pete's sakes.
It really does. All it takes is a little bit of preparation. And if you want to know, maybe you've got some questions about how your respective senators and representatives voted, you can always get online to idaho.gov, look up the legislature, and then you can see their voting record. So if you want to know how your representatives and senators voted prior to the election tomorrow, get onto idaho.gov, and you can just click on that legislative link, and then you can find out their voting record. It's pretty simple.
I've got a picture of you in my mind's eye with your Wonder Woman costume on and sprawled in a chair at about 4 o'clock this afternoon going, I don't care about nothing.
I think, honestly, maybe, just maybe, I might wear the Wonder Woman costume tomorrow just to get me through the day.
And then to go to the polls.
I would actually wear it to go to the polls, too.
I bet you would.
I would.
Okay.
And then I would sports a sticker that said, I voted.
You know what? I just hope and pray. I'm going to say this again, and I know you're going to agree with this. We do not want to get on the air on Wednesday morning and hear this absolutely ridiculous low number of like 23 or 25%.
Oh, you know what? There's no reason for that. No. I would like to see, It was something that we haven't seen in a while, 35 to 37%. I would actually like to see 57 to 70% of registered voters getting out there to the polls. This 23, 25%, that is totally unacceptable. Get on out there, make sure that your voice is heard, and be educated about the people that you're going to be voting for. It's pretty simple. Just do a little bit of research.
There you go. Thank you, Gina. Appreciate it. I got some good words, and then we'll wrap it up for today. I want to remind you again, when you go to the polls, don't forget, vote November 4th for a man that's devoted to Idaho and serving you. And that's, of course, vote for Lee Hyder, Senator, District 24. This man is one of the best, and always the best stands the test. He wants to continue serving you. So remember, when you go to the polls and vote, it is Senator Lee Hyder for District 24, paid for by Lee Hyder, Senate District 24. Also, I want to remind everybody about what Michael Rogers said just a little bit ago. Are you ready for winter? And according to some reports, we're probably going to get some real winter with the snow and the ice and the slush and everything. Well, if you are not prepared, you better be for winter driving on all the snow and the ice. And don't forget, stop into your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and check out all the tires that are pinned for studs and ready to get you through all the bad road conditions. Check them all out. They'll help you anywhere they can with the best in tires for your driving safety. And don't forget, too, that they've got all the chains. That's right, they got all the snow chains. They've got all the batteries, front end alignment, shocks and struts, the best, absolutely the best in brake service at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You stop in and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, Twist Family and Paul, John on Poline and Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. Yep, the best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Let's take a little look as to what we got planned for tomorrow real quick. Tomorrow we're going to, at 9:06, have Representative Fred Wood on, and we're going to discuss HJR2 one last time so that everybody understands it before you go to the polls tomorrow, okay? Then we're also going to have Dr. Elena George on the program tomorrow. That woman is excellent in her criticism of Obamacare. And then, of course, Dr. History and some other surprise guests. So don't miss it. That's tomorrow. We'll start at 8:06 right here on KBAR 1230 and then streaming live on the net all over the world, ZebBell.com. Tell your friends and neighbors, and we'll look forward to having you on the program with us. Remember, the way things were are the way things ought to be. See you tomorrow morning, Zeb at the Ranch.